There you go. I
Hey, how
got
you
you.
doing?
Good,
Hey, it's
man.
good to finally talk to you in person.
Yeah, and if you don't mind, I'm going to answer this one
Please
question real
do.
quick before we
No
talk.
problem.
Somebody asked
No
about the public
problem.
school system. The public school system is geared to keep children compliant and complacent. Now, when I talk to my kids about that, I show this as it's necessary to have, let's say, 350 million people working together. We have to have compliant and complacency in the society. That way, the grocery stores get stocked. The delivery drivers are there. Like there's rote jobs that need to be done. There's a compliance and complacency that has to happen inside of a society in order for it to all work together, in order for us to all stop at a four-way stop together and all follow the rules. We have to be compliant to follow the rules in the highway and things like that. Like, there's an element of that that's important. The problem is that's not soul serving, right? That's not, there's nothing growing in the human spirit about compliant and complacent to a human construct like working at a grocery store, but it's necessary. So the public school system does people do, when I say people, students, they do stupid things for way too long, and they do things just to be sat in their chair and all that kind of stuff. And I volunteer at schools a lot. And this isn't a bag on teachers, because a lot of teachers have amazing hearts. This is a bag on the system. And I think the system's very broken. But with me and my parenting style, I point that out. And I say, here's like, this is something to be aware of. And then how do you deal with that? And how do you people help the people around you? So yeah, that's how it goes. Hey, what's going on, Steph? So anyhow, buddy, nice to see you.
Yeah, so I was going to mention the thing that I wish people would do one thing which would be so fascinating. Instead of tertiary materials, go look at what the founders were actually reading and who were they studying and where were they coming up with the idea for the most inspired document in the world? Where were they getting this? And there's so much stuff that could be clarified if people went and looked at that. I know it's hard, I do, but it's like when you see how hard they were working to end slavery at the time of people just don't know that and it's like West Virginia was holding out and they're like, can we compromise? And they said, we'll revisit in 6 months and all this stuff. It would really paint a little bit of a different picture. But the couple things that I noticed about that is your other guy was trying to navigate freedom versus equality, and that's
Okay.
been something people have been. I think Will Durant said it best when he was like, "They're eternal bitter sworn enemies. You got to choose one," and that's crappy. So, and then when he was talking about the safety net, that is straight from I know what he's read, which is there was a 1974 book called The Social Theory of Justice by John Rawls that said we have to imagine that there's a veil and society's on the other side. And we're here on this side. And if we knew that we'd be thrown somewhere into that society without knowing how we would land or where we would be or what class or station or anything like that, what would we want? And so John Rawls' argument was, hey, what you should do is then you would want to create a safety net so everyone has an equal playing field. And that's the role of government. That's been the standard thing since 1974, that argument. It's pretty interesting. But then there was a dude named Robert Nozick who came along and wrote Anarchy, State, and Utopia, which is a brilliant refutation of that. It's a heavy read, a little bit, but it goes through and it says, no, what we need to do is government needs to be the force that gets everybody out of the way so that we can find our own freedom. And what a beautiful thing that is. So I know where I land on that debate. I know where I land, but people just, it seems hard for me sometimes because since my background is in this, it seems like people have been arguing this for a long time. And I'm like, you can go back 1,000 years and see what people were sorting through this. You know what I mean? So that was just my take that a lot of times when I know where he's got that thought, I know where that's coming from. There's another point of view. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the thing. So, part of, and that's actually why I don't like to enter debates without the idea of actually coming to not a consensus or not being in the middle ground, but coming to a new clarification. I don't actually enjoy debates where we're like, oh, let's just agree to disagree. That's a bullshit thing. Then that's just two stubborn people that are unwilling to listen to each other. There is an element of truth out of one of those arguments generally, and I don't think agreeing to disagree is anything but intellectually lazy. So I you
Let's
know
try this on and see how this works. We're not going to agree to disagree. We're going to vehemently fight for our points and everything. But that doesn't mean you're not a good person and you're doing your best to come up with a good answer, and so am I. So we may disagree, but we could have a beer afterwards. So that's a little bit of a different spin. Like Jefferson
you
said,
know
I don't.
I
Go
agree on
ahead.
coexisting. Yeah, man. So I'm sorry, we have a little bit delay, so I don't mean to cut you off. But
No
it's
worries.
a little choppy. But I coexisting is actually the thing. It's not about being in the middle. It's not about agreeing to disagreeing. It's about like, hey, listen, okay, cool. Do you like do all of you, whatever that
Yep.
means. Do all of you, right?
Yeah.
But I do feel I don't know if defensive is the right word, but then when they say, "Cool, I'm just happy as long as you do it like me," and I'm like, "No, that's not how this works."
Yeah, but you know what's
Right?
it's funny? So I live in Selwood, okay, and
Yeah, yeah.
so
Oh yeah,
I
you're
come
just
across.
you're 20 minutes from me.
Yeah. So the thing is, this is obviously for me being incredibly fiscally conservative and socially liberal, I have no friends. You know what I mean? So it's like everybody hates me. Um, but the thing is this is when I talk to people, I really like to sit down and make them feel heard first, and then it's a funny thing to sort of address that by saying, I understand where you're coming from. Is it this? And you try to get them to clarify their own position, and you go, I understand, but it's to me, I'm pretty solid in what I believe, and I
Hmm.
would not want to be across from the table debating against me. I wouldn't want that. Um,
Hmm.
but it's interesting how many people you're giving the benefit of the doubt to, that they really have sat down and studied this, and not just, hey man, this is what I've heard is cool, so I'm going to say it because that way no one's going to make fun of me or be mean to me, and I have societal acceptance. You know what I mean? Does sorry, do you think you might be giving people a little bit too much credit?
Do I think I might be giving people too much credit? I've done that my entire life. I've stopped recently. Actually, this is part of my personal journey is to stop doing that.
Yeah.
Not because I it's almost because I care about them so much that I can't. It's not because a status of elevation or perception or it's almost like I was God, I don't know how to find words for this, but it is part of my personal journey, if I'm being completely honest, to not
Let
do
me
that
ask
as
you if I
much.
tell you this, if it resonates with you at all. Since I'm continually disappointed by humanity over and over and over, in so many ways, when we get it right, it's touching. Like, for example, let's flash 10 years ago, not now, 10 years ago, the Olympics, when you have people getting together and just being their best, doing absolutely the best and everything, I cry like a baby. I'm just like,
Mhm.
man, that's cool.
Yeah.
And I'm like, can you guys please just not corrupt something? Can you just leave anything alone? You know what I mean? So I like the term. I've started calling myself a paleophile. Like I do like
Okay.
the old things. I do like the old traditions. I do want these things. I raise my kids, and it's like for them to be able to be articulate and have a value system and to have something that they, you know what I mean, doesn't
Have
mean
you
that
heard
I'm
anything? Have you heard anything that I've said that you disagreed with, or seen anything I posted, or anything like that that you think I'm on the wrong side of the argument, or the discussion, or the thought process,
one
or
thing,
anything?
just one thing, and that's that when you kept referring to the United States, I would caution you or just ask you to think about it that we keep saying, well, the United States is, the United States is, the United States is. But if you really go back, you should be saying the United States are. We are
Okay.
states and they're united. So we are
Okay.
doing it in multiple states. And if you look at that switched in our history to saying the United States are interested in this, the United States are, and it gives you a perspective to go, man, this is a whole bunch of different states with a whole bunch of different values and a whole bunch of, and it kind of brings that back instead of going, oh, it's the United States. We all X, Y, and Z. When you go, oh, it's a whole bunch of states and we are trying to do something.
Let me clarify that. I'm glad that's an interesting pickup that you had there of my vernacular choice. The reason why I do that is because I'm actually discounting the arbitrary boundaries that are states, and
Okay.
I'm including the entirety of all of the diversity of the country when I say the United States. It's not my United States. It's it's
Yeah.
it's the United States is. It means all of the wild diversity that happens to be in the arbitrary boundary that is the United States. So I'm actually usurping the boundary, the arbitrary boundaries of states to include the entire diversity, not just the diversity brought about by the states. Just to be more clear, I think we're actually on the same exact page.
Yeah. I
I
mean, because when people say, we should just fix this, we can do this and everything, and I'm like, but remember, it's a whole lot of states with a whole lot of things going on. And it's not as
Yeah,
easy
but
as,
those are arbitrary. And I'm not giving them a lot of credit because those things change all the time. They change laws, they change rules, they change politicians, they change leaders, they change culturally. So I'm kind of discounting that. That seems to be noise to me because I'm talking about the beauty of the diversity as an individual, not the
yeah.
state level. So that
Well,
just so you
if you're
know, I think we're
discounting
on the
it
same
at the
page
state
about
level,
a little bit.
discount it at the federal level too.
Okay, fair enough.
I mean, because you can't go individuals, communities. Oh, we don't worry about the states,
Well,
but then suddenly we're back.
actually, maybe I can because that's actually the umbrella that which that diversity is allowed. You can't say that about Iraq or Pakistan or whatever, right? So it actually is the container that holds that diversity that needs to be the appropriate label. That's how I'm looking at it because there isn't another container label that I can choose that's more honest than that.
America, it's not as politically charged. It's like when I think United States, I tend to think we're talking about government. When I think of America, I think of the low of people hanging out, barbecuing. You know,
Interesting. Interesting.
I don't
Okay.
know if you have that or not. It's something. I mean, do you have a difference when you hear the word America when you say the United States?
I personally don't, and I think that's
Okay,
why I'm just saying, okay, cool. I'll use American. Like it doesn't. I don't personally have an attachment to one of those labels over the others in terms of a meaning when I'm referring it to it in that sort of conversation. Um, they're kind of interchangeable in that because America to me includes Central America and it includes
yeah,
the Americas, and I don't want to do that. I'm talking about the United States. So,
fair enough. Yeah.
um,
Yeah, no,
I
I don't think there's a lot that I disagree with you on it at all. I mean, it's sometimes it's hard because I wish that he had had his formulated ideas a lot. So, I mean, that was frustrating and I was probably rude and I'm sorry about that. But, I
you're great.
think, I mean, I don't want to be mean to anybody, but I wish it could have been just like, here's my points, one, two, three, four, five. Let's dive in and discuss them. But I don't think,
And
I
I
mean,
like the guy because I believe his heart's in the right place. I
of course,
genuinely do. Right. Hey, Belligerent One, what's up, man? Sorry, there's a couple of guys in here like they're
no
hanging out.
worries.
I've done a live for a while, but that's something I do commend and I do respect, right? But it doesn't mean that the outcome is something that I'm interested in. It's the same outcome. I'm not interested in suggesting that the modality that he used was productive, but I liked his heart. I genuinely like his heart.
I mean, the argument about like, oh, well, we've become a military industrial complex or we're keeping the peace around the world, that can be argued both sides, blah, blah, blah. I get all that. Or we
Yeah.
overstep, or we have no healthcare and health. And then he went off on the things are a right. What he didn't understand is that rights are things that do not cost somebody else anything.
And that's what I was trying to get at. We met at loggerheads there. It doesn't, and I could get better at trying to. These are conversations I don't really have generally publicly about some of these things, right? They're just thoughts you have in your head. Um,
Well, I want to tell you
but
something that you may or may not appreciate, which is um, so I have a farm in Southwest Washington, so an organic farm, and have a community out there building tiny
what do you
homes. And then
farm?
I do what's that?
What do you farm?
Well, just vegetables and chickens and bunnies.
Okay,
But it's
okay, cool.
and then I needed an escape from Portland, if that makes sense. So
Oh
it's
yeah, yeah.
so otherwise, I mean, because I'm like, I can't be here. I told my girlfriend, I'm like, just can't, gotta go. I don't want to be that person. But also, it's like, so here I'm very cerebral. Like I've been doing real estate for a million years, and I'm launching a 506c and all that other kind of stuff, and doing public stuff. So that's all fun.
What
But
kind of
then I
real
got
estate?
what's that?
What kind of real estate?
I'm just solving affordable housing. That's all. No,
Talk
really,
talk to me about.
I look at I do. It's really interesting. I have a Michael Milken philosophy on that, and it's rather than messing with any single family, double family, or anything like that, I do train wreck mobile home parks and RV parks, and then
Okay.
I have partnered with Lincoln Block, which is
Mm-hmm.
a company in Washington, to come
Mm-hmm.
in and build Amish tech housing, which then you are giving them ownership rather than a renter, and you're condoizing the park. And so I'm taking beat up assets as an opportunist play, not just value add, and then you know improving them and moving on. And so I've got three projects in Oklahoma and two in Georgia right now that I'm working on. So and now I'm just doing the fun thing.
I like that. So I know a few things about real estate. I've done it for 20 years.
Yeah, I saw
And
your
there is
stuff.
a guy. What's that?
I saw your stuff. I was like, oh, he's done stuff too. That's cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Not as much anymore. I've been able to slow down, thankfully, a little bit for fun. But yes, I'm very familiar with real estate in Oregon specifically, and I've sat on fair housing panel. I've sat on affordable housing panels for the state and with the Oregon Realtor Board, Oregon Association of Realtors. So I used to own the Better Homes and Gardens franchise and Windermere franchise, some of the Windermere franchises for Portland, Southwest
I
Washington.
owned a Remax. Yeah. Can I
There you
preach
go.
to the audience for 2 minutes or less?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Oh, dude,
So
I was just going to tell you about this guy too. Hold on, there's a guy in here in the comments, Sleep Trailer LLC. I was just going to mention him. I don't know if you're friends with him at
what is
all.
it?
Sleep Trailer LLC.
Sleep
And
as
by the
in,
way, Sleep Trailer LLC. So I keep meaning to connect with this guy, but he's here locally and he's come up with this trailer to help provide transitionary housing or temporary housing to people on the streets. And
yeah, I saw it. Yeah,
have
I
you heard
know
of
who he is.
it? Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, check him out.
Um, so my take on it is that when you have such a huge amount of institutional buying of homes under 500,000, we've seen that in Oregon, especially, in around the city areas. Um, and I look at the people that are buying 25% of the inventory is now a second home, an investment property under 500K. That number should be like two, So what's happening is I'm telling younger people, hey man, plan on being a renter forever. It's not going to happen for you unless you can become an outlier in a certain way. And my argument is this, is when people think about what do we really want out of housing. So I live in Selwood, which you know what that means, right? And so my neighbor's house just sold for like 1.1, and it's like, it's dumb to think about somebody starting out their life that way. It won't work.
Which Remax
But
are you on, by the way?
what's that in Utah?
Which you owned a Remax in Utah, not here in Portland?
Yeah, no, I
Okay,
left my real estate career and I did a bunch of other business stuff instead. And now suddenly I
got it.
find myself developing and doing real estate again. Um,
Awesome.
but anyway, so the thing is that I think we need to rethink and set the clock back to the 1950s. And what I mean by that is like, what if you could have, if it's just starting out up to 400 square foot, RV park model, and you go, well, this is a great place to stay, and you compare it to, I could spend $1,400 a month in rent, or I can buy this as an owner for $750 a month and pay it off in 7 years. And then you go, well, this makes more sense. Or the larger ones that we're doing. And so I'm arguing that we need to rethink mobile home parks and RV parks instead of last chance housing, like before you become homeless. We need to start thinking about, we've kind of screwed the younger people in this country, and this is all that's going to be left. And we need to start saying, what if we did this, but made it really awesome and dignified and built it with amazing, amazing. My R values are 37 on my walls. Can you imagine? You know what I mean? It's a
Mm-hmm.
5.5 hour burn time to get through a wall. So
Mm-hmm.
we built an amazing Amish tech product and help people out. Could we start to chip away at this
Did you
affordable
say
house?
Amish tech?
Yeah, that's my word.
Like I love it. Good. I like that word.
Seriously, it's like shiplap on the inside and wood and all that, but then it's all tech.
I'd love to
Um,
see it, by the way.
yeah, I mean, we'll have you come out or whatever, but I just think it's an important thing is like everyone talks about stuff and everything, and I'm the guy who's like, that's cool, we can debate stuff, but what if we just took a shot at
I
seeing if we could make the world a little bit better?
trust me. It's
Anyway,
exactly
I'll
right,
shut up.
man.
I apologize to you guys in my channel, but anyway, I apologize to your guest too. But that's my soapbox I got on.
No, it's great. There's a good question that came in. I want to kind of hit it real quick. It says, you said, I think they're addressing it towards me. You said free healthcare was slavery earlier. How is crippling medical debt not slavery? That was question number one. And Hamburger James here, or Hames, I'm sorry. U.S. has highest maternal and infant death rates in developed world.
You lost audio. You've lost your audio.
Am I back here?
Oh
So,
yeah, now you're.
is it back? Somebody was okay. Somebody was calling me in. I had a phone call. Um, so those are two completely different things and different conversations. And I hope that anybody that knows me would never suggest that having crippling medical bills is acceptable. I've had high medical bills. I've been self-employed for 20 plus years. I know what it's like to get medical insurance, both for me and employees of a small business for 20 plus fucking years. I understand it. Three of the startup companies I'm working on currently are all working in the healthcare field of some sort, from diabetes to actually trying to lower the cost of an annual checkup at your doctor's, and we're going to make it so it's actually delivered to your doorstep and you can self-administer it and keep control of your data, right? So these are very big problems that I am working on. So I understand the challenges, but these are two totally different things. I'm standing by my argument that as a human right to enslave somebody else to give you a human right isn't a human right at all. It's a one-sided human right. So I have a challenge with trying to balance my compassion for people getting the health care that I would hope that they would get, with also at the same time not enslaving somebody else to give you that health care at a cost that they can't
I
control.
don't think people are
Right.
picking up on the enslaved part. That's what you need to define because that's where they're getting lost.
And what do you mean by that? What can I do better,
Oh
Jack?
no, I mean, I know exactly what you mean, but when you say enslaved, they've literally got this idea of like you're enslaving, and so I mean, I don't think people can make that jump that you're
The
giving them.
jump.
You know, so
So
instead you got to
so
step them through it.
so fair enough. I guess when things that are obvious aren't always obvious, and I appreciate you pointing that out.
No,
But
I
here's
mean,
the
if you
thing.
talk to someone, so okay, it's a right. So okay, you've got this right. So you want this done. Who do you want to do it? Tell me who. Okay, you want that guy to do it, and he says, but I don't want to. And you say,
Right.
well, I'm going to keep finding someone who does. And they say, well, I don't want to. And you go, so what if nobody wants to do it? What do you do? So you are telling someone you have to do this. And in the
Exactly.
far left argument, they say the more that a society needs a service, the less it should be paid because it's really a public good. Can you imagine? So they say, a street sweeper ought to be paid more than a doctor.
Mhm.
So I don't agree with that, but I think if you step people through the slavery thing, because I agree with you completely, it might land better because people go, you're talking about enslaving people. That's crazy. I don't want to enslave. It's too charged, maybe.
Yeah, which I don't mind using the charged word, but I could probably define it a little bit better. And this guy actually chimed in here a little bit, and he seems like a good dude. So I just want to say this for him too, that you talk about the highest maternal and infant death rates of the developed world. That's not a system problem. So this is a freedom. Freedom's messy. And when you give unlimited freedom, people have the ability to choose lifestyles that end up as a result of 80% of the hospital visits are a result of lifestyle choices, right? In the United States, freedom comes with responsibilities. Freedom doesn't mean you get to do whatever the fuck you want whenever you want. There's no consequences. It means that you're free to make a mistake, and when you do, then you have the consequence to deal with. That's the problem with freedom, right? So some of these things that have show up on a stat line don't have it's not a result of the indication of the system failing, as a result of the fallibility of humankind. That we don't make the right choices. If I gave my son a choice between a cookie and a broccoli, he's always going to choose the cookie. That's
Yeah.
what America does. It gives their citizen a choice between broccoli or cookie, and a lot of the citizens are choosing the cookie, proverbial cookie, right? It makes sense, financial, whatever.
It's also
So
of our
so
exceptionalism, by the way. We've done so
it's also
well.
part of the exception,
We've
right?
done so well. We can have a cookie. You know what I mean?
And we have a cookie, and we have not just one cookie. We've got a choice of a million different flavors and sizes and brand. We can
And
put
I can
butter
have it
cookies
delivered to
now.
my doorstep.
Exactly, and you can have it now. So that's the thing. What about it? So it's not a reflection, I don't think, of a system issue. It's a reflection of when you unleash freedom on humanity, you're going to get people that make the childish choices. In this case, like